Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another cast. And guys, today I'm bringing you another spicy hot game of Total Annihilation Zero. Guys, this mod is so fun to watch and cast. I really enjoy doing it. I think there's just so many cool ideas in this, and I love how it kind of takes the game in a new direction, adds a third faction, and all kinds of really neat ideas like personal shields, melee combat, construction units that can act as transports, commanders with laser swords, and you know what, just pretty much anything else you can think of. There's a lot of really neat design decisions in this mod, and I want to bring you some more of it. I also feel like this mod is a good foil to the 5v5 escalation clown fiestas that I often cast. So I think that's like, it's a nice, it's a nice kind of alternative, I guess. You know, these 1v1 games, much more small scale. I've got it a lot more zoomed in. Now I can have it zoomed out just as much, but I just think it plays or feels a lot better to cast it like this, where it looks a little bit more like StarCraft. You can tell the developer Vohvelielain here in purple has done a lot of work on the textures and the art and the modeling and all that. So let's go ahead and jump into this game. I'm very excited to bring it to you. I actually watched this one live, so I think it's really neat. Vohvelielain, he normally, again, purple, he is a developer, and guys, forgive me if I pronounce his name wrong, but he likes to play Gawk. Gawk is the third faction that this mod adds, and it seems to be his favorite. It's the one I normally see him playing. But here in red, his rival, Tashadan, I've seen him play core and arm. So the last cast I did on this, he was playing core, and this time he'll be playing arm. So I'll be excited to see sort of like some of the differences between arm and core, and just how this entire dynamic plays out in real time. Now, the Scorpion is like the Flash from original TA, and the Disciple is the Gawk main combat unit. They are those spicy melee infantry with two swords. And here in the top we have an Emissary and a couple more Scorpions. Again, the Scorpion is like the fast assault tank, aka the Flash. That is similar to their design. That is kind of how they function. And then we have a Custodian, which will be the armed construction vehicle. Already we have a couple of Disciples getting into their juicy melee range, where they will do so much damage. Of course, the Disciples do have a ranged weapon mounted on their shoulder, but it's more incremental. It's not really their primary weapon. It does okay damage, but ultimately they are not a ranged unit. They excel in melee, and the Scorpions are going to outmaneuver them at range. So definitely Vohvelielain wants to get in melee. But Vohvelian's got another trick up his sleeve. He's built some Dirge Singers, which is the Gawk Bomber, and he is already going to start chipping away at Red's base, targeting the mexes. One mex will go down. There is no air defense anywhere around here. Another mex will go down. Beautiful explosions. I really like the animation there of the explosion. Even the ground factory is in a bit of trouble, and now the Spectre, the T1 gunship for Gawk as well. This heavy ground factory is, to say that it's in trouble is understating it greatly. It will go down. So really, Vohvelielain with a nice early air raid, taking out 3 mexes and a heavy ground factory. Now going for even more mexes. Tashadan will bring his commander in to try and defend this. But 4 mexes now down. Another metal extractor slated to get killed. The watchtowers, which are like the armed defenders in this mod, also being targeted. But ultimately, it seems like red will stop that. But is it in time? Is it going to be enough? The problem is, even though purple got a lot of damage done with that early air raid, he now is sort of stuck in a small corner of the map. He's only got his commander and some defenses here. And Tashadan moving down with some scorpions, trying to get some retribution. A Khan will die, and that is going to be a huge blow for our purple player, who has to bring his commander out to try and defend this. So I really, really like what purple did there, taking out this whole area of red's base, and also a couple more mexes, and nearly killing the watchtower as well. Very nicely done. Another gunship will make it into the fray, but it will be pushed off by the scorpion. So, guys, ultimately, still a pretty close game. I really like that Vohvelielain building some air constructors. The Daemon. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce that right. But anyway, we're just going to call it the Daemon, the air constructor for Gok, and it will be building a Stargazer, which I think is the anti-air tower. Don't quote me on that. I'll check it again later, but right now we've got another aerial raid streaming to the northeast corner of the map. However, there is some stationary air defense here, a watchtower and a couple auto guns, so that I think will push away that aggression. Red seems to be prepared for this. He's not going to let his base simply get bombarded from the sky over and over after taking that heavy blow at the beginning. I think it is quite imperative for him to protect himself at all costs from these devastating air raids. And now he's bringing down a group of scorpions. It looks to be about 8. And he will run headlong into one Admonisher, but it looks like he is just going to try to avoid that completely and make his way down into the meat and potatoes of purple's base. Purple bringing his commander back to defend, but it seems like red has avoided him. He loses half of his tanks, but the other half still very healthy. However, there are Admonishers at the base entrance and a Stargazer. So, yeah, I think this attack pretty ill-fated as well. You can see Vohvelielain definitely going on the aerial game plan, and he's sticking to it. Let's go ahead and double-check. I think the Stargazer... Yeah, the T1 anti-air turret, so I was right about that. Guys, I do apologize. I don't know all the Gok units offhand. But anything I don't know, I will double-check and make sure that I am not just speaking... hot air, talking out of my butt, as it were. Another watchtower under duress. The ARM commander attempting to push this away. There is a second watchtower up here in the north, but unfortunately, I don't think that one watchtower will be enough to stop this. The Dirge Singers, very effective. Their bombs are quite powerful indeed, but unfortunately, I think there's too much air defense. Red has really done a decent job of spreading out his anti-air to make this difficult, but Vohvelielain's still getting a lot done. Throwing up more and more anti-air turrets, more watchtowers, trying to prevent purple from simply taking over the game. Is Tashadan, and but right now the issue is that purple is still in a tiny corner of the map. Even though he's getting some harassment done, red has expanded out effectively. Purple does have a couple little minor bases here on the islands, but ultimately it seems like red still has better run of the map, and that is always important. Map control is important regardless of what version of Total Annihilation you are playing. You want to try and spread out, and I really like that red is not only spreading out, but he's protecting these new bases 2 autoguns and 2 watchtowers at each site will make it more than difficult for Vohvelielain to break through and get anything effective accomplished with his effective, well, thus far, effective air raids. But yeah, Vohvelielain truly committing to the air game plan. Despite the fact that Red has done a decent job now of countering it. Look at all of the anti-air now. This is going to get harder and harder. Now we've got Stingers, which is it's like the armed Samson. They're a little different. It looks like they're hovering. But either way, it is the ARM mobile anti-air vehicle or hovercraft in this mod. However, it looks like these ships will catch a few Scorpions out on the field, and the Scorpions don't really have any anti-air capability. They will attempt to shoot up, but overall, that's not going to be a very effective proposition, as those Scorpions will be taken out, and ultimately still a close game, but I do want to give Red a slight advantage just because he has these 2 large bases, and now building air of his own. Let's go ahead. I think the Overseer is the ARM. Yeah, so in this mod, the Overseer is the ARM construction aircraft, but it also doubles as a transport. There is a ARM Hercules, which is also a transport, but I think it's more like dedicated, so it can carry more than 1 unit. I have to assume that the Overseer, the construction aircraft, can only carry 1 unit. Sort of like the Atlas in the original game. But yeah, it becomes more and more difficult for Purple to move out. His air is very mobile. It can get around the map quickly. But the issue is that Red has prepared traps for him all over the place. There's so much air defense to be found. I think Vohveliain's going to find it harder and harder to make any headway. Doing his best, but the map is littered with SAM sites and missiles and autocannons galore. And now Red beginning to encroach further and further onto Vohveliain's territory. Now, Purple is finally on land. I think he originally reclaimed his first land factory, which for the Gawk is called the Terra platform. So he built one early on, I think, just to get some constructors, and then reclaimed it to go into air, but now he has rebuilt it. He needs some kind of ground presence, I think, if he wants to make any difference in this game. Air only is just not a good strategy, probably in any version of TA that I know of. Despite how effective he's been, the problem with air is that it's a bit ephemeral. You know, it's great at raiding, it's great at assaulting undefended opponent, like enemy positions or armies, but it's not as good at controlling territory and like establishing a foothold, as Red has done so well this game with all of his land factories and forces. So once again, the game still very close, but Red definitely spreading out more effectively. More disciples streaming in. Guys, this mod plays much more like a rock, paper, scissors style design than typical Total Annihilation. And by that I mean Tashadan built all these stingers, which are good against air, and that will prompt Vohvelielain to be building the disciples, which can counter the stingers, because the stingers don't do as much damage against the ground, I think. So it is like you've got to build the composition to counter your opponent, but unfortunately I think Red just has too much here. He's got Scorpions in the mix, he's even got some Havocs. So it's a difficult situation, as Purple is just kind of forced into a corner here. He's got plenty of disciples, but with all of this range firepower, those disciples are going to have a difficult time getting into the fray. They need to get into close range, and there's just quite simply not enough of them to make the difference, I think, at this moment. But Purple still very much in this. He has built a wall of the Gawk version of Dragon's Teeth. These stars have shields, so they're a little bit stronger, I think, than a regular Dragon's Teeth. You have to kill their shields before you can even hurt them. And you can see that he's just walled off his base with the intention of not even letting his opponent try and do a run-by as he did earlier. This back base is very exposed, and he's going to just try to keep that safe, continue producing air from his factories, and see if he can find a way to disrupt Red's game plan. Red is just taking over the map now, and Vohvelielain really needs to find some avenue of approach. He's falling behind economically. As you can see here, it is 37 metal to 52 for our red player. So that does make it more and more difficult for Purple to make an impact on this game when he's falling behind economically. He still has the Spectres. Spectre is the... looks like a gunship, but it might actually double as a fighter for the Gawk faction. I will check that in a second. Either way, they are very effective, and he's got a massive number of them. He will be taking out so much of Red's army, and in conjunction with all the disciples, Red will be forced into a full retreat, routed out completely from the front line there. So let me double check here. Oh yeah, so the Spectre is a fighter and a gunship for Gawk, which is a really neat kind of hybrid role. However, Tashadan has his own fighters, the Rebel, which is similar to the Freedom Fighter, I think, from the original game. This will be the ARM anti-air interceptor. And you can see Tashadan is flying those around, looking for targets, looking for bogeys. He's got to shoot down Vohveliain's air force. He can't let Vohveliain simply fly around like that. But Vohveliain does have some anti-air of his own. Oh, that was a nice run there, taking out a Stargazer in one blow. Spectre will be chasing that, but I do like the airplay that we are currently witnessing. A very interesting back and forth from both of these guys. As you can see, the Rebels don't do nearly as much damage against ground targets, but they will eventually kill them. Let's see what the Rebel is actually... Let's see what it actually says. If I can find it. The Rebel... Yeah, the T1 fighter. So it is just a fighter. It's not any kind of fighter bomber. They are designed for air-to-air combat primarily. Big engagement happening in the sky. Nice fight there. Spectres and Rebels squaring off in a dogfight. And ultimately, it seems like Vohveliain still comes out on top, which makes sense. Vohveliain has committed much more into air. He's got 3 aero platforms at current, pumping out ships of all shapes and sizes, and now ready for yet another push into the fray. But there are autoguns, there are watchtowers, and I think eventually there will be Tashadan's entire army moving up here to try and stop this. Can Vohveliain's combined forces attack air and ground in conjunction, moving in at Mach speed? This base is under fire. We've got Rebels coming in. We've got Scorpions, and we've got Vikings, all contributing to the battle. It is very close. Holy cow, it looks like Purple is maybe coming out on top here. His air force is quite simply superior. There doesn't seem to be enough anti-air, but there are Rebels flying overhead, so very close battle. The issue is that even if he's winning the fight on the ground, he can't approach this base, and now Tashadan is on T2. He's built those Devastators. Let me see what the Devastator is actually called. In the factory, the Devastator. T2 heavy assault tank. He also has the Anarchist, the T2 anti-air. So with T2 coming out for a red player, I think that will begin to it will begin to skew the balance in his favor, tilt the scales in red's favor, because so far all the fighting has just been on T1, and now that we're getting to T2, I think this will get harder and harder for our purple player to stop. The Anarchist in particular is like a mobile T2 Gatling gun that can just shoot down air with near impunity, rapidly firing chain gun effect. It's a bit like the Cougar, the UEF Cougar, I think, from FAF, Forge Alliance Forever. It is a UEF T3 anti-air specialist. And that is a bit what the Anarchist reminds me of. I don't think it's flak. It's not like the Flacker from OTA. It is much more like the Cougar from Forge Alliance Forever. So, yeah, that is going to be really interesting to see how these play out. But either way, it's going to be much harder for purple to now dominate the battlefield from the sky, because with these Anarchists in the fray, in conjunction with the Devastators and the Vikings and the Scorpions and the Havocs and the Rebels and the Kitchen Sink, purple is going to have his work cut out for him. Wow. There is just explosions happening, but you can see the Anarchists firing into the sky, shooting down fighters and bombers left and right. The Devastators, the siege tanks, moving into the fray as well. Purple is in a lot of trouble. There are no two ways about it. I mean, all he's got is Disciples, and of course Disciples are strong, especially in huge numbers, but red's on T2, and his entire army is ranged. So these Disciples are going to really have to get in there, and it's going to be tough against the Devastators. Holy cow. Look at all the gunships. Red doing his best to take out all of this, but purple finding a way in. He's got enough gunships and Disciples to at least push this back. But I don't know if he can do much more than push it back. Red is continuing to send in reinforcements from across the map. And he's got bases and bases of armies. This Devastator, so damn tanky. It's sort of unbelievable. That was a nice hold. That was a nice hold by Vohvelielain. I mean, very effective, but he's going to have to do more than just hold. Oh my goodness, look at all the auto guns. I like that he's built... Red has built kind of a defensive retreat position so that if he needs to fall back, he's got that foothold up at the top left corner to sort of escape to in the case of an emergency. And the problem is Vohvelielain is running out of troops, even though that was a very effective hold. Red is simply shelling him from afar, making life difficult for our purple player. And like I said, red continuing to stream reinforcements. Now there are 6 Anarchists and 2 Varjags on the screen. The Varjag, like a very effective assault mech. I'll have to look later at the designation of that, but all you need to know is it's kind of like a... reminds me of like a mini Bantha. Look how quickly its fist guns fire. And then it has a top-mounted cannon as well, double cannon. Man, this is looking difficult for purple. And with the Anarchists being added into the fray, life continues to get worse and worse. Rebels flying overhead. Anarchists absolutely shelling the skies. Varjags shooting missiles from their top-mounted launchers. Oh my god, this just looks horrible for purple. What do you do to get out of this situation? Disciples really are not going to be enough, not nearly enough to stop this. Oh man, it's a tough situation. He is pretty defended. He's got a lot of turrets. He's having trouble breaking through. The disciples are at least being annoying, but he's going to have to bring his commander in. There's no other way. He's got to get his commander in there, start swinging his laser sword, start taking out units left and right. Red struggling. Oh, that was beautiful. Vohvelielain cloaks his commander for a moment, but ultimately able to get out of that without losing much of any health. Most of Red's army was cleaned up there. Guys, the problem is Red can keep doing this forever. He has the entire map. He's got all the production. He's got all the eco. He's got T2. And this is, it's a tough situation. Even though purple is very well defended, it is going to be hard to stop red from just sending wave after wave. He will clean this up at least. But purple is still on T1. It doesn't even look like purple's moving to T2 just yet. He may eventually get there. But right now, red just making more and more army. Try and break this position. More Varjags. Let's go ahead and see what the official designation is for that. The T2 Shock Assault K-Bot. I'd say that about does it. I'd like to see some Maulers as well. If we could get some artillery just shelling purple's base, I think that would help a lot. And just being able to break through all the nastiness. But either way, purple with a very what's the word I'm looking for? A valorous defense. Very noteworthy and laudable hold there. But doesn't matter. Rebels flying through the sky, shooting down specters left and right. The Varjag will move in, but without support, it is nothing but dog food. More and more anarchists and havocs. And Varjags. An interesting battle for the sky here, but again, purple doing his best to move through, but look at how much stuff red has. He will move into this little base, kill the high-yield metal extractors. And that will be a bit of an economic blow to red. Those weren't very well defended. But I have to wonder how much else he can do. These disciples. Quick, but I don't know how effective they can be against a T2 army of Varjags and anarchists. It gets harder and harder as time passes, I think, for purple. He's still not on T2. And part of the problem with purple not being on T2 is that he cannot build the high-yield metal extractors for the Gawk. Meaning, economically, he will still be behind. Problem is, Vohvelielain just hasn't had, I think, the breathing room to get to T2 this game. I'm sure he'd love to. T2 would give him a lot of different options, especially if he went T2 air. He's already been on the air game plan for most of this fight, but just doesn't have the space, I think, to get there. Doesn't have the breathing room. Right now, just building walls and walls of defenses. Let's see. The shield node. Okay, so I was wrong about this. The star, The star does not have a shield. The shield node has a shield. I think the only thing about the shield node is that they require energy to function. They're more expensive, and I think they require energy to function, so it's kind of like a better Dragon's Tooth. Apologize for getting that wrong, guys. I'm still learning the mod. I'm still figuring out all of the neat details about this really interesting creation. But it is very fun to watch and cast as a lot of very interesting and unorthodox ideas coming into play. And I do love all of them so far. There really hasn't been anything about this mod I don't like. It seems to do everything really well. It does exactly what it wants. It doesn't try to be anything else. As you can see, the shield nodes do have a bit of an effect when bullets hit them. But red is ready for his next attack. He is ready to make his way into purple's base and end the game. He is no longer messing around. But purple has turtled pretty hard. He's got all of these shield nodes protecting the admonishers. But again, all this is T1. That's the issue. The shield nodes and the admonishers only T1. I would like to see some T2 artillery being added here. I think if he could just shell his base from afar, that would be ideal. But he is on the assault game plan. He's not going to be doing any sieging. He's going to be bringing his massive force into purple's base and trying to kill him directly with a frontal assault. Vohveliain's commander now in danger as Red's army begins to surround him. He does have a shield, but that shield is limited, guys. It will run out. Eventually, Vohveliain's commander will be vulnerable. Vohveliain understands how much shielding he has, though. He knows when to retreat, and he does retreat, I think, at the proper time, but ultimately he will hold off yet another attack. Purple absolutely showing us a masterclass of defense for the Gawk and staying alive throughout all of these assaults. But Red is now on T2 air as well. He's no longer messing around. He's got Liberators. He's got Falcons. He's got Rebels. Let's go ahead and check out what all this does. The Falcon is the T2 interceptor, so that will be like the Hawk in OTA. And then the Liberator, of course, is the heavy gunship, which will be like the Brawler. Oh, man. Look at that air power. These Liberators are not messing around. Oh, man. It reminds me a lot of the Broadsword from Forged Alliance. They are very, very damn tanky, and they do a lot of damage. Vohveliain bringing his fighters into the fray. Where did all the Falcons go? I would like to see some Falcons. Anyway, Vohveliain will clean that up eventually. Oh, there's the Falcon. Vohveliain will clean that up eventually, but he does take out most of that base there. And we'll continue pumping out more and more Liberators. Tashadan looks to be having an energy crisis at current. He needs to probably fix his energy situation. I assume that air is very energy intensive, just like it is in OTA. So he probably just needs some more. Building a fusion reactor. I think once that is finished, hopefully his energy problems will be solved, at least for now. But I have to say, Vohveliain, despite being behind for most of this game, has done a fantastic job of at least holding on. And like you can see, economically, he's only making about a third of the metal of his opponent, but doing so much with just that third. This Guys, this mod is, again, it's much more like StarCraft in a lot of ways, in the sense that there are no, I think there's not really true game enders for TA0. You've got to do it the old-fashioned way. You just need to break through your opponent's base, overwhelm them with your might. There's no, as far as I know, there's no Big Berthas, there's no nukes that hit the whole screen. There might be like tactical nukes with a limited range, but I don't think there's game enders of the traditional sense. It is designed for close combat. Lots of engagements, including this one here in the middle. So many Spectres, but there's just, I think there's too much air defense. It looks like the Varjags, they are even able to do a decent amount as well to protect themselves. But yeah, man, it is amazing how well. Oh, but now with the Falcons coming in, the ARM air superiority fighters, I don't think this battle is going to last much longer. All those Spectres will be shot down. And Red with yet another attack. This will be his third major offensive since he's been on T2. And Vohvelielain is still on T1. He has not been able to make the transition. The fusion reactor is now finished, which means that Red's energy crisis will be resolved. And with more Liberators making their way into the fray, killing the second base in the middle, things become very dire. We've got more fighters moving in, but these Liberators absolutely crushing everything in their path. It doesn't look like they have any anti-air capability, but they don't need any anti-air capability. They are really damn tanky, and of course we've got some rebels coming in. All of these bases have been taken out now. There's a single Falcon flying in to try and get some damage done, but man, these Liberators, they are so hard to kill, even with all the anti-air. It just takes a lifetime for these to be brought down. They will finally die, but unfortunately, Red massing yet another army at the north of Vohvelielain's base. More Liberators being pumped out. More Anarchists moving into the fray. And, oh, it looks like Vohvelielain is building some mines here. These are Jinx. The Emissary looks like some kind of... That might... Yeah, the Emissary looks like some kind of mine layer. Let's see if I can find out exactly what... T1 Field Engineer, so it can build defenses and mines. Battle for the sky here. We've got Falcons and Rebels facing off against Spectres, but I think with the Falcons in the mix, ARM should have the advantage here. Nice battle for the sky, but Purple's control seems a little bit better. It's really close. There are air units falling left and right here. The Rebels ultimately winning the day. The single Falcon, I wonder how many kills it has. 2 kills on it. But yeah, I think it's a difficult situation for Purple to be in. He's holding on really well. But the third major attack of our red player finally moving down the field, ready to get this game over with, ready to finish off Vohvelielain once and for all. His commander is there. Vohvelielain is now on T2. He's built some Immortals. Took him a long time, but he's finally here. But look at the size of Red's army. It is just massive, and it is several screens large. moving through here. Oh, man. I love these nightfalls. Providing that long-range support. Where is Vohveliain's commander? He's up there. So I want to keep an eye on him, but the problem is that if his commander is not participating in this battle, I think he's going to lose a lot of his base. Red has broken through. The Stars no longer defending the entrance to his base, as Red will break in, and here in the south he's got some Liberators as well, dealing damage to that part of the base, but Red has truly broken through here. I think this is going to be the back-breaking blow that Tashadan needed. Yeah, Vohveliain, I think, essentially giving up. He understands that now that Red has broken his base, it's only a matter of time. It was a really good game, though. Really close. And a great job by both players. I liked what Vohveliain tried to do early on with the airplay, and it certainly could have worked. Vohveliain says that the reason he lost was because of the first con. So he lost a constructor like somewhere like in this area around the I think it was like around the 10-minute mark. Yeah, he only had one constructor. That was after he had transitioned to air. He had reclaimed his Terra platform, meaning that he could not rebuild another con, and that definitely put him behind. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, he did reclaim his Terra platform to go into air, and then losing the constructor meant he couldn't replace it easily. So, according to Vohveliain, that is the moment he lost, but guys, either way, I think he did an amazing job holding on. He did eventually get to T2. Unfortunately, he just didn't get there, I think, in time. And because of that, he wasn't really able to build some of the T2 defenses that might have helped a lot. The Nightfall seemed to help some. But either way, as you can see, he's now only got this tiny base. Red has complete aerial control now. Liberators and Rebels. We've got Varjags. We've got Anarchists. And all we have Vohveliain in this tiny corner of the map. His commander now exposed. I doubt he even really has the energy to cloak anymore. So he is now in serious trouble. That shield will go down and leave him exposed. Yeah, the shield is down. His commander is vulnerable. And with one last swing of the sword, he will be shown the door. So guys, thank you for watching. That was game one. They did replay another match on this map, and I think I'll go ahead and cast that one. That one I have not seen, so I have no idea who wins. Vohveliain definitely going to be trying to get revenge after that crippling loss. You know, where I think he definitely could have won. It was a close game, but losing that con early on, unable to really spread out over the map, definitely caused him to have a frustrating situation that he was not able to recover from. But let's see if in game two he can get his revenge. Welcome to game two of Vohveliain versus Tashadan, the rematch, the fight to determine who is the best of the best in the TA0, this god tier mod. I would love to see Vohveliain get some greasy revenge on Tashadan, who this game is blue. So last game he was red, but he has now decided to sport the very sharp neon blue colors for his second game. But I would love to see Vohveliain try and get some payback for what happened the first game. He was so close to winning there, and he definitely had an opportunity, and I think could have won. But I'm sure after that loss, he's more than ready to claim revenge. I think that's probably why they're playing the same map again, which I did not mention in the first game is called Highland Hellscape, and this is a map designed specifically for TA0, which is probably why you've never seen it before in any of my casts. It's very neat. As you can see, you have in the bottom the lava pits, which will be untraversable by any kind of land, but then you have these plateaus that do have some metal spots on them that can be claimed. Last time, Vohvelielain was able to take those. But this game, we'll have to see. Things are already starting a little bit different as Tashadan going straight into air. So going straight for a bomber, I think, the Corsair. We did not see any bombers in the first game that I just cast. So to see Tashadan basically stealing Vohvelielain's strategy, let's see if he can do it better than the mod creator did last time. It doesn't look like Purple's ready for this. Oh my goodness, that was a beautiful bombing run. Okay, so Vohvelielain was sort of ready. He has a single Harbinger, which is like the Gawk anti-air hover. But will that be enough to stop Tashadan from simply bombing his base into oblivion? Ooh, this Protector is in trouble. The Harbinger will take that out, so very nice job by both players. Very, very effective play on both sides. But already we have a Predator moving out onto the map. It doesn't look like it's going to... Maybe he's waiting for a second one. But let's go ahead and see... The Predator is just a reconnaissance. So the Predator is like the Fink. It's just a scout. It has no weapons, I think. But very nice try with the bomber. That could have been so effective, but Vohvelielain, he was ready. He had the Harbinger already in position to stop that. Now building a Stargazer, which again is like the Gawk anti-air. And with that, I think Vohvelielain will have a slight advantage early on. Going straight into air second, and that makes a lot of sense because he does not want to let Tashadan have control of the sky, nor does he want to let him have control of these plateaus. In the first game, Vohvelielain got complete control of these plateaus because Tashadan did not go into air until probably 15 minutes or more into the match. But Vohvelielain will be getting it at about the 5-minute mark, I think, as he has reclaimed his Terra platform and will be going straight into the air game plan. So, yeah, Vohvelielain does seem to favor air just based on the couple matches that I've watched him. And Gawk seems to have a very strong air strategy with the Spectre being sort of a hybrid gunship / fighter. So it makes a lot of sense why Vohvelielain does favor this strategy for his favorite faction. But, yeah, Tashadan already reclaiming his aircraft factory. It doesn't look like ARM gets a T1 gunship. So interesting design choice for TA0 to not give ARM a T1 gunship, but that is one of the cool things about this mod. I love the faction diversity. These interesting design decisions, giving the factions their own unique strengths and weaknesses and their own flavor. And, for example, the fact that ARM gets these Scorpions, which are like the Flash in this mod, and Gawk does not get anything like that. Their T1 units are the Disciples, which are mostly melee. They do have a ranged attack, but it's not as effective. They're definitely a melee unit. Vohvelielain has caught Tashadan with his pants down. That single Spectre, like I mentioned, the hybrid gunship and fighter, seems to shoot missiles against air, and then it has a cannon, like an auto cannon, for the ground targets. He will catch Tashadan, I think, by surprise there, taking out that Khan with very little resistance, because Tashadan has already recycled out of air. He does have this one Overseer, but ultimately he does not have any way to build Rebels right now. So Vohvelielain playing extremely well, not only defending that first air attack, but then punishing Tashadan's greediness and his inability to defend this. I don't think he expected Purple to go straight into air. and build a fighter like this. He probably thought he would have enough time to start throwing up some anti-air towers, sort of like Vohvelielain did in the first game. But it is not over. Despite how well Vohveliain's doing, Tashadan has an entire army of Scorpions, and those will be moving out at a very decent time. Vohvelielain, however, does have an Admonisher surrounded by shield nodes and is working on another Terra platform so that he can enter back into the ground game. As again, he reclaimed his one earlier to go into the Aero platform. So, nice job early on. He does have this emissary, which, like I mentioned earlier, is the Gawk combat engineer. He will be building a Stargazer near the metal there, probably just to prevent Blue from having that. The combat engineer doesn't seem like it can build any eco, but it is building some mines, and it did build the Stargazer, the Gawk missile turret. So I like what he's doing here. Look at this. The Stargazer already getting some use, taking out the Scout for arm. Very nicely done by Vohvelielain. Really predicting a lot of what his opponent's doing. However, Tashadan is now, he's keen to this. He is aware of this. He's caught on. And he does not want to let this emissary just run around the map and be a menace. And a menace is exactly what it has been. Targeting the Stargazer down, its shields will evaporate quite quickly. The emissary now vulnerable, but these Jinx, which are, again, like the mines, they remind me a little bit of Widow Mines from StarCraft 2. But ooh. Oh, nice. I think they have a rechargeable missile or rechargeable bullet. But, yeah, Tashadan will find these. Ultimately, he will clean this up. So great moves by both players, I have to say. Like, both players have done some very effective maneuvers at this phase of the game. Blue did attempt the bombing run early on. That was foiled, and then Tashadan attempted to build a base here and here, but Vohvelielain was ready with those Spectres, taking those down, and then Vohvelielain took his Constructor up here to build some mines and a little bit of a base there, but then Tashadan with his Scorpions will clean that up. So both players, moves and counter moves. As you can see, Vohvelielain will be building these Stargazers to ensure that Tashadan cannot so easily disrupt his bases that he is throwing up here. And he's got Spectres patrolling the middle island. So this game, ironically, is starting to shape up to be similar to the first game, with Vohvelielain committing heavily to air, taking these islands as before, and then with Tashadan once again committing into the ground game plan. So both players doing something very similar. However, there is one difference. Vohvelielain is in a much better position. He has not lost any constructors, unless you count that emissary. But the emissary was not really part of his economy. He wasn't using it to build metal extractors. He was just trying to secure the map a little bit. So I think losing the emissary not as big of a deal as losing the protector like in the first game. He's going to be much better off this time. And but Tashadan is still ahead, like economically, as you can see. He's once again he has sprawled out across the map, building defenses at every base, and just overall being sort of a menace. Very difficult for Vohvelielain to deal with, as he now has some Havocs. The Havoc, I think, is like the Stumpy. It's the equivalent to the Armed Stumpy in this mod. But there's a lot of Disciples here. He may have a critical mass of them. He does have the Spectre, but there is some anti-air Stingers in the mix as well. So, once again, the game's still very close. But Vohvelielain he's definitely in a much better position than he was the first game. Like, the first game, I think at this point, he was trapped in a tiny corner. He's got a much better run of the map this game. Blue hasn't expanded quite as effectively, though he is expanding to the top left, and he does have this base here in the west. But Vohvelielain making his own base in the east, and we'll have to see if he can defend it. He wants to make sure that base is well protected, but economically they're almost dead even at this phase. So I think at this phase of last game, Tashadan was already pretty far ahead economically, and then just sort of snowballed from there. And just Purple was really never able to recover from his the early loss, the early disadvantage. So, but once again, Tashadan still, he has the superior land army for sure. Scorpions and Havocs, a nice combo. He's got some Stingers for anti-air. More and more units streaming in. Disciples are good, but I don't think there's enough Disciples here to really make the difference. Vohvelielain forced to retreat. Of course, Vohvelielain still has control of the sky from what I know. Tashadan isn't even on... Oh, no. Well, he might be on air now. He might have gone into... No, I don't see that Blue has even gone back into air after he reclaimed it earlier. So again, Purple is going to have control of the sky. He's definitely an air player, and it makes sense. It makes sense because Gok does seem to have a very strong air game. But once again, Blue knocking on the door, pushing Vohvelielain into a corner. He wants to defend this base that he recently constructed up on the east side of the map. But Blue is he's applying pressure now. He is very near to simply knocking that base down, putting Vohvelielain behind economically. Vohvelielain bringing the Spectres into the fray, but look at how much stuff Blue has. Scorpions and Havocs and Stingers. Oh my. There is so many units. And Vohvelielain, he's going to have to bring his commander in, I think. He's losing everything. His extractors, they're up next. They will die without much of a contest. Once again, we enter a situation that feels very reminiscent of the first game, where Tashadan has taken complete control of the ground, and Vohvelielain greatly struggling to leave his corner of the map. However, we do have some Spectres here at the southwest. Vohvelielain poking and prodding, looking for areas of approach, looking for weak spots, looking for avenues, but man, there is so much air defense. All of those Spectres will unceremoniously be sent into the abyss, into a fiery grave. They will melt, they will sink into the lava like Golem with the One Ring. Good God. Purple once again stuck in this corner, but it will be difficult to break through this. He has a Black Dawn, which again is like the Gok Punisher. And those are very effective. But this is not, it's not the situation Purple wants to be in. Economically now falling behind. He's about 15 metal behind. He does have more energy, I guess. That's one feature that's in his favor. Of course, he needs that energy, I think, because he's so air heavy. He definitely needs to be keeping ahead of his expenditures. But we do have some Scourges in the mix, which is the Gok anti-armor hover. With these Disciples, I'd like to see some more Scourges, I think. It'd be decent against this composition. Vohvelielain, I don't think he quite has the production right now to match what Tashadan's doing, but I do think a few more Scourges could really make the difference. Right now, he's committing heavily into Disciples, though. He does have 2 Terra platforms pumping out units and Mach speed, but Is it enough? I mean, again, I don't think Vohvelielain wants to be in the same situation where he's just kind of pushed into a tiny corner of the map. He has taken the islands, and they are decently well defended. Ooh, okay. So Vohvelielain doing something a lot different this game. He's going T2 air at the 17-minute mark. So that could be game-changing if he can get it up in time and defend himself. This is a huge investment. He's going to have to hold on while he does that. And he's going to have to keep blue busy for quite a while. Can he hold on for long enough to really make this T2 air investment count? That is the name of the game for a purple player. He's got to play keep away here. Bringing his army back to defend himself. He knows that if he dies here, if he loses too much, his game plan will never come online. Ooh, the Dirge Singers dropping the bombs. Dropping the nukes right overhead. Oh, that's so effective. And now, with all the disciples closing in, Blue's army is going to get flanked, I think. I love the combined arms approach. Disciples and Dirge Singers and Spectres and Scourges all combined, all working together to produce the desired outcome, which is the death of Blue's army. And yeah, man, these Dirge Singers, wow, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful bombing play there. So suffice it to say that Vohvelielain is successful, and Tashadan, he's low on energy now. He's having a bit of an energy crisis. Vohvelielain, I think, has rebuilt this satellite base. So economically, he's even ahead, playing a much better game. He has been very defensive, just like in the first game, but he's doing it a lot better. And most importantly, he's on T2 air now. I assume he'll go straight for a constructor. I think that's probably what the Rapture is. Yeah, the T2 construction aircraft. So he'll probably go into the constructor, get his eco booming a little bit, get some build power, and then I assume he'll be going for the gunship. No T2 bomber that I can see, so it's got to be the gunship. But I think once we get some radiance out, that could be a game-changing proposition for our purple player. Of course, it won't be cheap. Already his energy is struggling. He's probably going to need to get a fusion up. I assume. I'm not super well versed in the economy of TA0, but I assume he'll want a fusion. Whatever the Gawk fusion is called, he probably wants at least one of those to get his air production up to the effective speed. Oh, I like what Tashadan's done here, though. Look at all these autoguns. Vohvelielain turns his tail and runs. That will prompt him to bring in the Dirge Singers to bomb this base into literal oblivion. But the Varjags now making their way in, as Tashadan is also on T2. This is such a close battle. Tashadan making it to T2, I think, in the nick of time. He's going to give his ground army an absolutely needed boost to try and win these engagements. As you can see, Vohveliain's combined forces army has been dominating these fights, but I think now that we are on T2 with the anarchists being the anarchists and the Varjogs being added into the composition, this is going to get harder and harder, just like in the first game. Vohvelielain has to find a way to try and hang on. Blue's composition is simply better. These disciples they're just going to evaporate. There's nothing else to say. Those are dead. But again, Vohvelielain is on T2. He's just building construction aircraft for now. But let's hope that will eventually turn into some gunships. He's got to use his resources. Building another Terra platform I think Vohvelielain is probably going to be struggling with energy, as Tashadan already has 2 fusion reactors, which means his economy, I think, at this moment, is much more powerful. Energy-wise, he's at 237 to 140. And Vohvelielain, once again, in a situation that he's going to be struggling just to hang on. These disciples are powerful, but against all the Varjags, it's probably not going to last. He does still have control of the sky. He's got some bombers floating around. I don't know what Vohveliain's doing with these Raptors. He's okay, finally, he's building an exploiter here, which I think is just the T2 mechs, but I think energy is more important. He needs to be building the fusions. Vohvelielain really struggling to hang on here. He's got plenty of disciples and a lot of dirge singers as well, but with those anarchists in the fray, oh man, his base is now potentially in danger. He has some defenses here on the east side. Tashadan moving, looking for the death blow, looking for the approach. There are 3 Black Dawns. That's a lot of defensive power, but these Black Dawns are exposed. They do not have any walls protecting them, shielded or otherwise. Oh no, dude, Vohveliain's base is in trouble. The Terra platform being focused. All 3 Black Dawns have been killed already. And now his main base is... oh, it's under threat. The Terra platform will survive barely. But most of his eco is on the chopping block now. He was already energy starved, and with these dynamos under threat, he will lose even more of an economic advantage. But he's doing a decent job. He's got the bombers coming in. He's still got some defenses up. Vohveliain's base is in trouble, but ultimately I think he will hold that off. He will hold off that attack. And it doesn't really achieve as much as I thought it would. Ultimately, it does kill a lot of the defenses, but the Terra platform does survive with just a sliver of health. Most of the defenses are dead, though, and that is crucial because that means that another attack is likely through this position. And, yeah, Vohvelielain, he's going to be struggling to try and reclaim his base there, metaphorically or otherwise. He's still struggling on energy. I'd like to see these Raptors, instead of building exploiters, it feels like he has more metal than he can already possibly use. But he's still building the exploiters instead of the furnace. I think he needs some furnaces here. He is starved economically. His energy is starved. He has been building dynamos with his commander, which will give him some energy. But he is struggling to make use of his metal at this moment. Meanwhile, Tashadan's economy is very effective. He's on his 3rd fusion reactor, pumping out T2. And he's already rebuilt most of that army, this time including some Devastators into the mix. So guys, these Devastators are such a cool design. I don't know if you can really tell, but in addition to the 2 massive cannons they have as their main weapons, they have these little, like, EMG weapons. When they get close, they have like an anti-swarm turret. Look at that. Oh man, that's so cool. I love the Devastators. That is such a neat design. So the Devastator is not only strong against other large units, but it can even defend itself against being surrounded and overwhelmed with groups of disciples and whatever else. Vohvelielain still at an energy crisis, and crucially unable to produce T2 gunships, which... well, no, I take that back. He has a couple Wraiths. But I thought the Wraith was the T2 anti-air, right? Yeah, so he's got some interceptors. But these won't probably be doing too much for now. I don't know how strong they are against the ground. He's just trying to keep control of the sky. But more importantly, he's got to worry about the land army. Once again being set upon by waves and waves of units. Varjags and Scorpions. Even Devastators thrown into the mix. All of his defenses still have not been rebuilt. He doesn't really have either the construction power or the energy to do it. He might... Okay, finally almost done with the first furnace. I think once the furnace is complete, his economy will look a lot better. But he's got to hang on until then. His base is under siege. Once again, his army consists of almost completely disciples, and I guess there's a couple scourges and a domina. But will it be enough? The base is exposed. The Devastator is being surrounded, but look how damn tanky that thing is. It will finally die. We have some wraiths in the sky, but I don't know, man. Once again, blue is breaking through. He has broken through. And once again, Vohveliain's base is in trouble. His commander is exposed. Swinging his sword in rapid succession. Yeah, that one factory will die. The Devastator is still alive. But it will die as well, so... Again, purple with a successful defense, but everything is low. This aero platform is now low. He's lost the Terra platform. The other two are at about 2/3 health. But crucially, he no longer has any walls or any defenses in this area, so it's like Tashadan has opened a wound in his base, and every time he attacks, he just... deepening the wound further and further, more and more units streaming out of his base at Mach speed. Vohveliain finally able to solve his energy crisis, now building some Radiance. He does have the Deceiver as well, the Deceiver, a flying radar jammer, so I think that will allow his Radiance, if he can get enough of them, that will allow them to be much more effective, not appearing on radar. Giving them some stealth, kind of like a stealth feature. Making it harder to respond to and harder to counter. But he's got to live long enough to do that. I think Vohveliain struggling with build power. He's got more metal than he can use and really has been able to use. And he doesn't really have the constructors he needs to rebuild his defenses up here. He's building another Terra platform. He might try to build some constructors out of there. But finally, maybe ready to bring the race into the fray. He's got a decently sized air force. He's got a lot of defenses as well. He's got to hang on for dear life here. It's long enough for him to be able to stabilize his production. Get the factories rolling. The Admonishers, they will put up some defense, but for how long? Blue is swarming. There's a lot of stars, the Dragon's Teeth, but will it be enough? Blue once again going for the weak spot. He knows where it is. Okay. Vohveliain finally building T2 defenses here. He's got a Haven and a Pillar of Light. Let's see what those even are. Let's see. Haven is a T2 shield generator. And what was the Pillar of Light? Oh, T2 perimeter defense turret. So he's got a shield generator and now building T2 perimeter defense and a starburst as well. So he's got to try and defend that part of his base. He's got Radiance moving in now. These powerful T2 gunships ready to make their appearance in the game. He's been building these for a while. He's been struggling for economically, but now he has, I think, taken control. And with these Radiants, should be able to deal a lot of damage. In fact, I bet these Radiants could get into Blue's base and start taking out fusions. Oh, well, there are Falcons, so Tashadan, no slouch. He's built some anti-air. I don't know how much damage Vohvelielain could do with his Radiants, but I know that he does have some T2 fighters of his own. In the meantime, we're going to have to see how well these defenses do. Wow, look at the range of that Pillar of Light. Holy hell. It's a very effective defense. We've got the Starbursts as well. Look at the Haven, the shield generator. Oh, man. What an effective defense here by our purple player. And with the Radiance flying in as well, Vohvelielain doing a very decent job of keeping the hope alive. I think Vohveliain's Air Force might be so superior here that he may consider doing an assault on Blue's base. I mean, look at all the Radiants. Holy cow, that is a lot of T2 gunships and some Wraiths for air superiority. He's also got the Eudaemons, construction aircraft floating around. Tashadan attempting to make his base impenetrable from the sky. But Vohvelielain is still looking a lot better this game than he was the first game. He's still got this Deceiver floating around. Looks like it can build... Okay. So the Deceiver, in addition to its radar jamming capabilities, can build defenses and mines. That is an interesting unit. Really crazy design there. Nothing really like it in TA for sure. But finally, he will find this base. Look at all the defense, though. Tashadan not ready to let this base just get set upon so easily. But is it enough defense to stop this entire army? We do have Dominas and, what are these, Scourges. But man, I think that's enough defense to push him away. Very well done by our blue player. But hang on, there is a battle for the sky here. The Falcons have made their way into the fray. But there are so many Wraiths as well, and Radiants flying overhead, trying to keep Blue's encroaching army at bay. More and more units pouring in, but I think Vohvelielain probably has enough here. I think Vohvelielain has enough to kill this. There's some anarchists, though. A lot of micro. Trying to stay out of the range of these T2 anti-air tanks. The Radiants, I think, will fly to be repaired. Yes, they will. Oh no, maybe they're just retreating for now. Either way, Vohvelielain holding on for dear life. This time with a powerful air superiority, though. More and more Radiants coming in. The Devastator's autoguns able to shoot at the skies. A very close battle, though. But it seems like Vohvelielain, I think he's got this pretty well defended now. And the game is definitely looking a lot better for him than the first game. Even though he doesn't have as much control of the map, at least the northern part of the map, he's still got all of this. He's got a blazing orchid. Here we go. I think this is like a mini Bertha. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You love to see it. You love to see it. So I don't think this has the range of like a traditional Bertha. It's a much shorter range. Of course, the maps in this mod are much shorter too. It's not a game ender in the way that a Bertha is, but it still hurts like hell. Each shot chunking these T2 extractors And it's extremely accurate as well. So I think... Oh, man. This Geo now under siege. Yeah, I think Tashadan's definitely got to do something about this. This Blazing Orchid. Absolute monster. I wish it would pick a target, though. It just seems to be kind of firing at random now. It's gotten everything it shoots at to kind of like half health. But I don't know if he even has any scouting information. Yeah, he's been shooting at all kinds of different targets. I wonder if he's got radar targeting. I wonder if this thing's like automatically firing. Either way, it is devastating. And this will prompt blue into a counterattack of some kind. Here come the Falcons. Here come the Liberators. Here comes everything. The Blazing Orchid is it is under siege, but I think Vohvelielain has more than enough air defense there. And this high yield metal extractor getting low, so yeah, very nicely done. But I think Vohvelielain has enough of an air force here to inflict some serious damage on Blue's base. And yeah, this Blazing Orchid is it will eventually, I think, get its work done. Seems like it's missing its shots occasionally, but the real question is, what can Blue do to stop this? I think Blue is now on the defensive. There we go. Getting some nice shots now. I wonder what the range is of this thing, even. You can see the range there. It can hit most of Blue's base. So now, I think with that long-range plasma cannon being built and now shelling Blue, things are starting to work in Vohveliain's favor. Economically, he's ahead now. And most importantly, he's got control of the sky. Blue losing his eco, losing a lot, and now there's a battle in the north. We do have some Falcons flying around, trying to take down these pesky T2 gunships. But what a battle there is here in the north. What a fight we have. Blue still has this very defensible position. The top corner of the map. It will be difficult for Vohvelielain to break. But the question is, what is Blue's in-game strategy here? He's tried to break through so many times, but Vohvelielain, he has countered him at every turn. And this Blazing Orchid continuing to apply pressure to the base. I'd like to see him build another one even. A second Blazing Orchid. Could definitely be the difference maker in this game as Blue attempts yet another push. This time Vohvelielain is a little bit ready. He's got some defenses thrown up here. All these units will fall victim to that, but I think the Devastators are much hardier proposition, much more difficult to stop. But now we have the Radiants entering the fray, chunking down the Devastators. There's not enough air defense at all in this army to stop this from happening. Man, look how quickly the Devastators fall. Blue has a decently sized army, but it's just simply not enough. Simply not enough to stop all the Radiants from overwhelming them with firepower. Raining those heavy ion beams. Melting everything in their path. It's a single Bertha continuing to cause problems. Now we see a Vindicator, which I think is the ARM T2 tactical bomber. So, I don't know. Will a Vindicator make any difference in this game? We haven't seen these yet. Unfortunately, I don't think one bomber or even two bombers is going to be enough to change the flow of the game, but maybe it will. We'll try to keep an eye on it. Problem is, Vohvelielain has plenty of air defense. And yeah, as you can see, the Blazing Orchid has taken out all those advanced extractors. Oh, there is a retaliator, though. That is the armed nuke. So we do have a nuke being built. And does Vohvelielain have an anti-nuke? I wouldn't even really know what the anti-nuke looks like for Gawk. But yeah, the retaliator is there. I think the retaliator is a bit more like a tactical nuke, though. Let's see what the range is. Yeah, you can see the retaliator is more like a tactical nuke. It's got about the same range as the Blazing Orchid does. So there may not even be an anti-nuke for it. But either way, the Vindicator has made its way onto the field. Nope, maybe it's just patrolling. Vohvelielain finally ready to assault this northern base. He's been building up a massive army for quite a while now. All those defenses will die. And again, let's try to keep an eye on the retaliator, because again, this might be enough to take out this whole base. And if it can, that would be pretty effective. Tashadan says he already fired a nuke, though I don't know where he fired it exactly. Because it seems like everything is pretty intact, from what I can tell. So guys, I apologize for missing the nuke. It's sort of frustrating. But there we go. Well, that didn't work out too well. The armed T2 bomber just sort of goes down in a blaze of glory, doesn't really get too much achieved as Tashadan, with yet another assault here in the north. Lots of Devastators and Havocs to be had, but I don't know if it's going to make a difference. I don't know if there's enough air defense here. I'm really amazed, I think, that Vohvelielain is not just sending his air force down here. I think he could probably just kill most of Blue's base at this point with his T2 gunship swarm. Look at all the radiance. He's also got some nightfalls as well. Holy cow. There's not enough air defense here. I don't think there's enough air defense to stop all those. That is an absolute swarm of radiance. Oh my god. That is just so much air superiority. Good god. Blue is in trouble. Vohvelielain is very close to getting his revenge this game. He's very close to, I think, proclaiming victory. He's so far ahead now. Not only does he have this Blazing Orchid just shelling Blue's base, but he's got most of the map now. Tashadan's army is in serious trouble. Even though he's got some anarchists, there's at least as many Radiants as anarchists. And then he's got some Immortals and, oh, the Nightfalls as well. Holy cow, look at the range. Those are like mobile Berthas. So he's just going to be sieging Tashadan. Oh my goodness. It can't be allowed. It can't be allowed. Somebody stop this man. Oh, good god. That is brutal. I think we may have seen a nuke here or something. Guys, I've been trying to keep an eye on the Retaliator, but I think all the real action is happening here in the north. Oh, look at the air superiority. Look at the carnage and destruction being wrought on Blue's army and now his base. And I think ultimately on his commander. That is just so many gunships. What do you even do against that much firepower? Purple now with the Immortals. These things living up to their names. Powerful shield leading the charge. And I think that will cause Blue to be forced into just a tiny corner of the map. Here we go. Retaliator firing a nuke here, another one. And as you can see, the nuke isn't super effective. It's more like the tactical nuke. But I'm really surprised he's not firing it here. Maybe there's some kind of anti-nuke I don't know about. The Fermata maybe is the anti-nuke for Gok. But either way, this situation is looking great for Vohvelielain. It's looking terrible for Tashadan. He's got Falcons. Could this be a one last hurrah? Trying to win the sky battle. He's got so much anti-air in this composition. An absolute plethora of AA. But unfortunately, it's not like the first game. Vohvelielain has more than just air. He's got T2 ground units as well. The Immortals leading the charge. Yeah, and Tashadan, I think he realizes this game with the Blazing Orchid. 18 kills. Shelling his base into oblivion. Yeah, Tashadan will leave. So guys, those were two really epic games. Ultimately, Vohvelielain does get his revenge. And what a fun mod to watch and cast and to learn more about. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.